So this is a machine I've used for a year now. Almost exactly a year. So, if you don't know the story behind this, I'll tell you. So, about a year ago in September of 2022, I went to a Goodwill, looking for vacuums, because that's just who I am. And they had an okay selection of machines. Excuse me. But they're all pretty pricey for something that they can't even make sure works. Like, if I wanted to pay $30 for a used Bissell, it better work. But whatever. So I saw this, and I found its bag door because there was no bag inside of it. It was $20. And I was looking for a bagged version of a Eureka Whirlwind Lightspeed for a little while by then. Not too long of a time. So I was pretty excited. I got it home, took it apart, cleaned it up, and here it is. And recently I just took it apart again and re-cleaned everything. Cleaned the armature on the motor, cleaned up every single piece on it. And I added grease to some places that were, like the pivot points where the body pivots on the floor head and the wheels. So, yeah, if you didn't know it, it's this. This is a Sanitaire Force model SC5713-B, made in 2012. Yes, 2012. Because I forgot how Eureka Sanitaire model numbers work, and I remembered that actually means 2012. As far as I'm concerned, I could be wrong, and I could have been saying 2011 because it is 2011, but I'm pretty sure that's actually 2012. Environmental Protection Agency certified, so if you're an environmentalist and you're looking for a vacuum, go for one of these, and go for the bagged models. The bagged models are so much better than the bagless ones. Although the bagless models aren't bad, especially for a modern bagless vacuum. It's a lot better than what Shark and Dyson have thrown out for the past year or so. So yes, I've used this for a year, and I like it. It's what I've been using for a year. Mainly as a daily driver. And I don't think I'd really be using anything else more expensive over it, except for maybe a Eureka commercial with a Viper or two in case, which I do have, in case I need something, and really needs to be deep cleaned, or even that. But those are the only two machines I'd pick over this. But anything else, no. Not even my Kirby's. I wouldn't even choose those over this thing. That's how much I really like this machine. It's relatively robust. It's very robust. It's relatively lightweight. It's nice and quiet. It has a lot of suction and airflow for a very basic bag machine. And its cleaning abilities are very good. And it has certainly held up throughout the past 11-ish years. It's been around almost 11 years, because I think 11 is November. So this machine is almost 11 years old. And I guess the quality of these older sanitaires, specifically the ones made in Mexico, really show in this one, and I think the Force is the only Sanitaire still made in Mexico. I could be wrong, but I know that the Forces are still made in Mexico. It's just the Traditions, I think, that aren't. And I think the Eons. Probably the others, too. But these are still made in Mexico, and I think, unfortunately, the motor, I think, is an Amatec Lamb from their Shanghai division. But it's still a very good motor. I forgot that when I first took it apart, the brushes had basically no wear on them. And it's still true. I mean, there is a good amount of length on those brushes. I mean, you can easily take out the spring with how much length is left on those carbon brushes in the motor. Those brushes are just, it's either the hardness of them, or it's just that it's a really good motor. Those brushes have almost like new length on them. Maybe a 16th or an eighth of an inch less than new, but those brushes have very good length on them, and that in its own, I think, is surprising, because this machine is almost 11 years old. So advancements I've made to this is this newer brush roll. The old one was old, so yeah. Brush rolls are wear items. You do have to replace them every so often. Not as much as bags, filters, or belts, but you still gotta replace them. The wheels are a bit iffy, but they're wheels. Of course, they're gonna get chewed up. These ones are rubber coated, which is nice. So, yeah. Got a nice bumper on board in case you bump into something. It's got a nice long hose. Now, the default attachments with these are pretty poor, but it's a commercial machine, and it's not meant to be used above floors, really. It's mainly meant for, like, quick dusting, and there's stuff along the baseboard as you want to get, but it doesn't get up to the edge close enough. So that's why there's a little indent right there. It has that little tiny dusting brush that you can attach to the end of a crevice tool. And then usually there would just be the traditional one-piece extension wand and a crevice tool inside. I have this two-piece extension wand in here because this came with no tools, and I do have bare floor heads that I do use upstairs, which is where I use this one the most. And it has good enough suction and airflow that with the bare floor head, it actually gets in between the cracks of my wood floor, which I guess isn't too impressive because my wood floor is old and some of the cracks have gotten really freaking big. So this is an older one. It does not have a removable cord, but it has a very long cord nonetheless. It is a commercial machine, so it's going to have a long cord. And in fact, reviews on Amazon, I've actually seen people complain about the length of the cord. If you do not want a long cord, please do not buy a commercial machine. These are commercial vacuums. They are meant to have long cords on board. On this one, there was originally a little cord loop right here, but since it went down, since that loop kind of made the cord aim downwards and holding the cord kind of pushes it upwards, I removed that because it just didn't make sense to have it there. There is your warning there. Some, I guess, let me see. Oh, it's just the same warnings except molded into the plastic because Americans are Americans, which means they are very dumb. This is a very well sealed machine. This HEPA filter's got a nice thick gasket around it. I will need to replace this though because it is relatively old. Although, it is surprisingly clean. Like I said, those brushes, even though this is a commercial vacuum and it got a good amount of use, those brushes are still in great shape. They have a lot of length left on them. It is a well-sealed machine. There is actually a gasket on this motor cover, which is impressive, because usually when a vacuum claims to be sealed, there is no gasket around the motor housing. There's just one around the fan casing for the motor, and that's all you get. Now, it does say that the filter is washable. Of course, ask any technician and they'll say that's not a good idea, but whatever. The bag I use in this are these Vac America Clean H10 HEPA filter bags. They do make HEPA bags for these, as you can see. 4 years ago, when Alex Performance Reviews, that guy, made a review on these. They did not. They only had the paper bags, but now there are HEPA bags, so you can get true, decent filtration, even without a HEPA filter in, although they only have HEPA filters. But you don't have to deal with so much dust in the bag compartment now. Excuse me. There are also ones made by Clean Obsessed. And as you can see, a nice thick gasket right here. I think this one is foam though, so it's not as good. But there is a nice rubber gasket around the back door. There's a little pre-motor filter in here. I have a makeshift felt filter over it for slightly better filtration. But yeah, it's got a 7-position height adjustment, and I don't know if this is just because I am relatively old school. I listen to John Denver and Tears for Fears, if you didn't know that already. And this is the newest vacuum that I use as a daily driver. It's from 2012. I am pretty old school for someone that is 16 years old. I don't like to use modern stuff a whole lot, so I like a nice manual height adjustment, because I like to be able to set the height to what fits the carpet the best and not trust a circuit system like on a Sebo, which I've heard mixed things. I've heard that they're better on the X7s, but the Sebo automatic height adjustments beforehand, especially on Windsors 2, were not that great. That's why I prefer manual. And other manual or automatic height adjustments were literally just these wheels that self-adjusted. But in reality, it just makes the head sit as low as it can to the floor, which is bad on belts and on the carpet. Bad on belts, as seen in the Dirt Devil, Featherlight, and Breeze and similar machines, and the Eureka Maximas. So yeah, I do prefer a manual height adjustment. I have it set on a medium setting for this carpet. I have it set either here or here for the upstairs rug, which is a plush pile carpet. But it's relatively matted down, so that's why it's not here. It's on here or here. But for now, I will leave it on this setting, because this setting cleans this carpet the best. Alright, want to see a demo of it? I sure do, because I like to use this machine too. It's a relatively relaxing vacuum. You don't usually have vacuums that are relaxing anymore, because their motors are too whiny, like Bissell's and Sharks and Dirt Devils and Hoovers. The motors are too whiny anymore. This vacuum has a nice, smooth, I want to say it's a more bolder sound, but it's not like a screamer. It's a quiet, relaxing sound. It's not squealy, it's not whiny, it's a nice sounding motor. Yep, not a very whiny motor. Although, my guess is the reason why the carbon brushes have so much length on them is because they are relatively hard, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear it or if the brushes will do it now, but they are hard enough to the point that if they're spinning at a low rate or a low speed, they do squeak. Now, that doesn't affect the machine's performance or motor life in any way. It's just something I noticed. I mean, I can deal with it because I'm not spinning the brush roll by hand every use. So, it's not going to be too noticeable. But yeah, that's about it. I've used this machine for a year. I'm very happy with it, with its filtration, its ability to clean, and of course its low noise, and it's relatively lightweight. It's not the lightest machine, but it's not like as heavy as a Kirby or something. It's not too heavy. Wonder if it's any lighter than this. I think this one's a little bit heavier, but that's probably because of the long cord. And the fact that the cord is dual insulated. But yes, it is not as heavy as a Kirby or a Sebo. And, you know, I'm probably going to make some Kirby fans upset. But I have 3 Kirbys, and I don't like them. So I'm going to say what I think about them. I kind of think it's dumb that you have to disassemble the machine to use the attachments. With this, there you go. There's no bulky transmission on this. There's no, there is no risk of breaking the fan. And it's quiet. It's quiet, it cleans very good, and it filters very good. There you have it. If you want a machine that is quiet, cleans very good, and filters very good, this is your vacuum. If you have a lot of carpet, you are going to like this machine. If you use your upright primarily for cleaning carpets, you are going to like this machine. I do. That's why I am recommending it to pretty much everyone I know. So yeah, that is, this is the year-in update. I've used this thing for a year, and I couldn't be happier with it. So, there you have it. The year-in review of the Sanitaire Force, model SC5713-B. I'm Jack's Vaccine Safety, signing off, and I will see you all in the next one.